Alice Darling is a solid movie, but is it the right movie for date night? When I saw this trailer, it immediately gave me Gone Girl vibes, and that is another fantastic movie too, but that movie might not be the right movie to watch in certain contexts. So does Alice Darling fit into that same category? Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it. I was able to see Alice Darling a few days early, and I'm here to give you my honest, no BS, non-spoiler review for you today and tell you if it's actually worth watching. So make sure you stick around to the end so that you know my rating of the film, or else you might be going into a movie that might not be right for you. And if you've seen the movie, let me know your thoughts down below. Again guys, there's no right or wrong answer, it's all opinion. So let's get started. So the movie is directed by Mary Nighy, and this is actually her very first feature film, but she has done some work on TV before, directing episodes of, I wrote it down here, Traces and Industry. Haven't seen either of those shows, so let me know if you've seen them and if I should check them out as well. I'll let you know though that my list of TV shows to watch it's quite extensive. And it stars Anna Kendrick, Kaniehtiio Horn, if I mispronounced that, I apologize, and same with this actress, Wunmi Mosaku, if I mispronounce it, I apologize, and Carrick as the boyfriend Simon. And the movie's about a young woman named Alice, and she goes away on a weekend trip to the lake house with her girlfriends for a birthday party. However, that friend's birthday party turns into an intervention for her to deal with her abusive relationship. Now, what did I think of the movie? Like I said earlier, this movie is solid, and these movies are hard to review because, like I say in many of these reviews, you go down the film school report card. Acting is good, check. Pacing is good, check. Story is intriguing, check. You know, it tells the story visually and musically with great cinematography, great sound design, great soundtrack. This movie is really, really well made, and it's a good movie. Solid watch, thumbs up. I could end the review right there, right? Like, what else do I need to say? But I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail for you guys. I liked how they showcased the relationship and how manipulative it was. Now, Anna Kendrick, Alice, is dating Simon, and he is this young, upcoming, passionate, driven artist doing all these art shows. He is a very driven guy, and drive and passion and ambition are qualities that women generally find attractive in men, right? Ladies, you can let me know. But something is up. She is always on edge when she's with him and when she's away from him as well. And her actions don't necessarily line up. Like, for example, when she is away from him with her friends, she has to go into the bathroom and text him and send him pictures of her cleavage. When she gets home at night, she's in the shower and she's fantasizing about other guys, and then when she has sex with her boyfriend, she's reluctant to do it and she feels guilty about thinking about other men. And when she even goes up to the lake house, she has to lie about it. She can't just say, hey, boyfriend, Simon, I'm going up with my friends to the lake house for her birthday party. No, she has to lie about it. She's got to go, well, I'm doing this business retreat, you know, it shouldn't take that long, I have to go. She has to lie about it. And with all of these actions, she is so afraid to upset him. Now, the way that all this information was unfolding throughout the movie, it kept me intrigued throughout the entire thing. And I'm really glad that this movie did not go the cheesy route. The cheesy route would be, you see them in the beginning, they're hunky-dory, lovey-dovey, yada yada yada, and he gets angry, he hits her, and then he's immediately the bad guy, and then she stays with him because she's insecure, and I did this because I loved you, and you see it right in front of your face. That would be the very cheesy route to go down, and that would be very, very boring. But this movie goes the subtle route, the smart route. You can tell that this movie is not made by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. This person knows how to make a movie. Mary Nighy directed a really fantastic movie here. So for example, when they're driving up to the lake house, she's getting texts from him. Hey, hope you have a great time on your conference or your business retreat or whatever it is. And she's so afraid. She's thinking, what would he do if he found out? So she has to throw up and she's pulling her hair out. She has like this nervous, anxious tic that she's pulling out all of her hair. Now you do see some flashbacks to the actual manipulation in the relationship, but like I said earlier, it's not that he's hitting her or it's so obvious where it just becomes comical or laughable. You see some major gaslighting going on, and whenever something happens, he makes her feel guilty about it, makes her feel all of these negative emotions, shame, guilt, etc. He'll say things like, you either want to me or you don't. You know, I love you. How can you do these things when I love you so much? So any situation, she becomes the bad guy. So when she's hanging out with her friends, she just cannot relax. She's constantly thinking about him. She's talking about, oh, I need to leave early because I need to see Simon because I can't be away from him for that long. Like, he reads my thoughts, like I need to be with him. And the relationship with her friends really starts to hurt. And when her friends confront her about all this nonsense, she tries to justify it. Oh, you guys are just jealous of his success. He's handsome, he loves me. Who do you have in your life? You're not successful, you're just jealous of me. The manipulation gets so strong that she even tries to justify it to people who call it out. Now, luckily, I haven't been in an extremely manipulative situation before, but a little bit of a personal story. I was in a relationship with someone who was long distance, and I never really knew where the relationship stood, and it really drove me crazy. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I actually ended up in the hospital because just the relationship was so in the if category, not is category, if that makes any sense. But I was young and stupid, I learned my lesson, and now I'm happier than ever. But that's just my own personal story and how I related to this movie. So all that stuff is fine and good, but I love how they tell it with the visuals and the sounds. Now, in this movie, there are many long scenes of just people being people. There's a real reliance on realism. There's not a lot of fast edits. There's not a lot of tricky or interesting cinematography. It's just very plain and simple, but there's a purpose to all of it. For example, Alice and one of her friends goes outside with an axe. Actually, it's a maul. They actually talk about that quite a bit in this movie. It's more of like a running gag. And there's a scene about Alice learning how to chop wood, and she's learning how to do it, and she's eventually getting really good at it, and she eventually really starts to find it very therapeutic. And now someone might be watching the scene and going, what does this have to do with anything? She's just chopping wood, and it goes on for a very long time. But it's her getting her anger out. And beneath the surface, we're realizing that, yeah, she has all this pent-up anxiety, all this pent-up anger, and she's really getting it out with chopping all of this wood. And we also see visually how uncomfortable it is when she's having like these anxious breakdowns, these panic attacks, when she's pulling out her hair. The camera's really close on her face, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very invasive. That's a good word to use. It's very invasive. But when her friends start to talk about the relationship and she starts to understand, when Alice starts to understand how manipulative her boyfriend actually is being, her body language changes. She starts to loosen up. There's some scenes where she's showering or when she's swimming, and it's more like cleansing the toxicity out of her system, out of her life. And while sure, it's not the most out of the box thinking, right? There have been many movies where there's the shower scene where they're cleansing out all the bad omens of their life. I think of Spider-Man 3, I think of American History X, but it works. It's simple and effective. It works. It's that little extra thing that makes this a little better than just a standard manipulative movie without any direction. And the soundtrack, when she's in the relationship, the music is supposed to sound all lovey-dovey, very romantic, but there's a couple moments where the piano is off key and it makes you feel very uncomfortable. It's like there's something not right here. So the sounds mimic the story, mimic the relationship of the characters. And it's not super obvious. It's just a twinge. Couple notes here and there that are like, oh, that note shouldn't be there. Anyone who studies music knows about this, knows about the harmonic scales and all that stuff, and you notice those notes shouldn't be there. But if you don't know that stuff, you hear it and you notice it and you're like, I don't feel right. This doesn't feel proper. But then when she starts to understand, when she starts to be a bit more freeing, when she starts to live her life a little bit more, the music starts to get a bit more free, a bit more upbeat, a bit more experimental. This is a new experience for her. She's breaking out into a new world, and the visuals and the sounds reflect that. Like I said, it's not intense stuff. It's not out of the box thinking or out of the box filmmaking, but it's just something extra, and I'm glad it's there to tell the story visually and with sounds rather than just the characters speaking and saying, I'm in a manipulative relationship and I feel sad. What do I do? You should get out of it. You know, I've seen too many movies like that. This movie takes it a step above. So here's the question. Is Alice Darling worth a watch? I would say yes. And even for a date night, if you're interested in talking about the movie afterwards and kind of dissecting it, this movie definitely is a good watch. Especially when you're in a healthy relationship, you know, you guys will look at each other and go, you know what? We appreciate each other more because of it. So for an overall rating, I'm gonna give Alice Darling a 4 out of 5, but that still leaves you with one problem. What are you gonna do after this video? I suggest you watch this one next. I'll see you guys there.